What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. This is going to be Secrets of Playboy Season 1, Episode 10. Now, we have a bonus episode next week. And what I feel like happened was there were more people who came forward as they found out about this project. And so they're adding this episode. The episode next week is a set of twins. I don't remember their name, but it seems like it's all about what happened to them and their experience at Playboy. And I one of the things that they said, this was the final episode, but one of the things that was said at the end was, if this encourages more women to speak up and come forward. Yes, Hugh Heffner is not here, and some of the men involved are not here anymore, but more people need to hear the story and understand that it's deeper. It's deeper. But anyway, so this episode was called Number One Predator. And basically it was all about Hugh Heffner imposing himself on women without their will. Read between the lines, okay? You gotta read between the lines. So we meet Susie again. Now, Susie was the young lady that we met who said that she took her pictures when she was 17, but they didn't publish them until she was 18. She spoke about having an eating disorder and that being her experience. Well, we come back around and she sort of gives us a little more insight on her history. She grew up in an uber religious family. I mean, almost, she said, to the point of cult-like. Her family was a member of the Church of God, not God in Christ, but just Church of God. And she said how her grandfather actually sexually assaulted her, like, repeatedly. And she got away as soon as she could. She did modeling, and then the modeling person said, hey, you should, try out for Playboy, and she did. And she said she felt like it was wrong because of the way she was raised, but in her mind, she was like, listen, this is an opportunity for me to make more money than I ever thought I could make. And God will forgive me. I mean, that was really what she said. I'm not, that's what she said. Now, she talked about living in the house, and one of the playmates encouraging her to go talk to Hugh Heffner because, of course, like I've told you before, the whole goal is to be Playmate of the Year. And so she went to go talk to him, and she went to his room at the mansion to talk to him, and she was nervous, and he was like, you don't have to be nervous. What's going on? Like, you could talk to me. He was like, here, calm down. So he gives her a Coke and a pill. And she said at the time, it didn't even occur to me to ask what this is. I assumed it was, aspirin, something to calm me down. She said, but of course, in retrospect, dumb to take medicine that you don't, or take a pill that you don't know what it is. She said the best that I could guess was that it was probably a Quaalude, because what the effects were are what people explained to her that Quaaludes do, but she doesn't know for certain what it was. But all she remembers is waking up with Hugh Heffner on top of her. And she said, as she was looking, she opened up and saw his face. She said she really flashed back to her grandfather, because she was like, here was this old man over top of me, and the look on his face was very reminiscent of what my grandfather would look like when he was assaulting me. She said that she ended up pushing him off of her and ran out of there, and basically neither one of them ever spoke of it again. She said she was worried that, about that he would be angry or what have you. And ultimately, she said that part of the reason why she never left, or that she kept going back, was she was afraid that he had a tape. And she said the thoughts of that tape haunted her, or the possibility of there being a tape haunted her, because she probably heard the rumors that, he videotapes everything that goes on in his room. Now, last week when we talked about Secrets of Playboy, one of the questions, we talked about it in our live reviews, one of the questions that came up was, what happened to these tapes? I have the answer, sort of. We'll get to that at the end. And so she said that ultimately she had dropped weight. She got down to like, she said she was like 90 pounds, and showed a picture of her. She was, oh my gosh, she was so thin. And the Maureen, who was Hugh Heffner's secretary, like, reached out to her about getting help, and, oh, Hef is worried about you, and we want to get you help. We want you to be healthy, yada, yada, yada. Sandra was also in this episode. Remember, Sandra is the girlfriend that from the late 70s, early 80s. And she spoke about how Hugh Heffner had a skeleton key. He had a key to get into every room in the mansion. And he said to her, you don't think that I would have people living in my house and I can't get in their room? So she said one night he took her to one of the rooms. He opened up one of the doors of one of the women, and he basically forced himself on her. She talks about the fact that she witnessed it, and she's racked with a lot of guilt. We'll get to her in a minute, but she has a lot of guilt about the things that she saw, that she allowed to happen, that she didn't report, that she didn't protect. And this was one of those situations of, she said she's so sorry. And she said when it was over with and he came out of the room and they were back in the bedroom or walking back to the bedroom, and he said, because she said she heard the girl say no, please no. And he did it anyway. And he said to her, I know they don't think they can stay in my house for free and not have sex with me. And I was like, golly. We found out, again, Sandra, after she left the house, she got married, she had children. She said, and I did go back to Playboy. I would take my kids up there on Easter because it was always a family-friendly event. And she said, I was a part of that Playboy family. She said, for a long time, I defended Playboy. I spoke highly of Playboy. She said, I just wanted to forget about what I had gone through and forget about my experiences. And she said, I drowned it through alcohol. And it sounds like she was an alcoholic for a while. She said every time I would start, she said it would play in my mind almost like a picture, a slideshow. And she said as soon as those images and those pictures started coming in her head, she would take a drink. So that's how she dealt with it. Now we talk more about Miss Dorothy Stratton, and of course we've talked about her a few times. Dorothy Stratton, Miss Playmate of the Year 1980, and they talk about how she came down from Canada and how she started hanging out at the Playboy Mansion. And the hierarchy, as it was explained by Hugh Heffner's butler, was you were expected, if you were going to, that Hugh Heffner basically had first pick. And once he slept with you and when he was done with you, then his friends were allowed to get a taste. Well, in Dorothy's case, it was rumored that she actually slept with an actor who was in Gone with the Wind prior to letting Hugh Hefner get a piece. And the butler said, and she paid for it through brutality. And he talked about one night in the grotto. And I used to always hear people talk about, oh, you don't want to be in the grotto. Oh, it goes down in the grotto. And we've heard several stories about it going down in the grotto, but not in a good way. But people would joke about it. Like you would hear people talk about, oh, being in the grotto in the Playboy Mansion, and they like it was a joke. But now I'm like, that don't sound like a joke. But he said one night he heard screams coming from the grotto. And he went in and he said Hugh Hefner was anally assaulting Dorothy Stratton. And that story was corroborated by two other people in this episode. Mickey said that Dorothy told her herself, and then no, somebody told her. Maybe Dorothy did tell her, but she had heard the story as well. And then Dorothy's boyfriend at the time of her murder, Peter Bogdanovich, who was a producer in Hollywood, she had told him the story. So this isn't something that like other people didn't hear the story. Like she had told other people about this, and basically the butler was told by security, you going about your business and you ain't see nothing. And then they talked about how, she, of course got caught up in the matrix of Playboy. And unfortunately, we know what happened to her. She was, murdered by her boyfriend not too long after she became Playmate of the Year. So in 2011, PJ, Sandra, and Mickey linked up. Because Sandra said the one thing that always haunted her were the tapes. She said, by 2011, Hugh Hefner was in his 80s. And her concern was, what happens when he dies? What happens to the tapes? And she said they started a letter writing campaign where they were asking about the tapes. And she said that they were able to basically catch Hugh Hefner in a lie. She didn't get into the specifics. They probably had to sign some sort of NDA. But She said that the lawyer told her one thing and Hugh Heffner told her something different. And because they had two conflicting stories about something, then they were able to get a concrete answer about the tapes. And what they were told was that Maureen, Hugh Hefner's longtime secretary, had very specific instructions on what to do with those tapes once he died. And from their understanding, all of the tapes were packed into barrels, taken out to sea, and dumped. Now, one of his secretaries said that she has strong reason to believe that that is what happened to those tapes. I don't know. The way she said it was like she knew, not she heard. So I don't know if she was on that boat. I don't know if she helped pack up them barrels. And Sandra's thing is, do I believe that all of the tapes were destroyed? She said, I don't. But I do believe that the majority of them have been destroyed. And at this point, that's the best we're going to get at this point. Hugh Hefner's not here anymore. So if there are some tapes still lingering and somebody has them, Maureen, I guess, would have them. And Maureen is still alive because she denies all of it. They got a statement from her. And she was like, I ain't do none of it. I ain't got nothing to do with it. I ain't do it. I don't know what you're talking about. So anyway. Susie said that she did talk to Marilyn. We learned about Miss Marilyn. She was the photographer, head of the photography, and she told Marilyn about what happened when Hugh gave her the pill and tried to. Well, I think he did, but he finished. And she basically told her, "Oh, girl, that's nothing. You'll be all right. It's all good. He probably forgot all about it, as if that's what the issue was about him being mad or him remembering it happened." So then PJ hooked up with Sandra and Mickey, and they talked about how Hugh never wanted them to be friends. Hugh never wanted any of them to link up for this exact reason, because then they could share stories and they could, bond resources. And they just talked about why they're doing this and why it's important for other women. We're in the era of Me Too, and it's important for women to feel like they weren't the only ones. And Sandra says that, she just carries so much guilt about, I would invite the women up to the rooms. I would give women the cocaine. And I would, I basically was complicit in a lot of these atrocities. And if me telling my story can help somebody heal, then it'll be, then me telling my story will be worth it. Me opening up these wounds will be worth it. So that was pretty much the final episode. They sort of just kind of wrapped everything up. And like I said, they called it a special episode next week. So I feel like this episode was filmed after they finished the documentary. Maybe these sisters came forward and wanted to tell their story, and they're giving them a special. So we'll be back next week for the special. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Talk to y'all later. Peace.